So for a long time now, we've all been wondering if Swift will finally be replaced. And to be honest, Ripple has always been at the top of everyone's list as the most likely person to do it. I mean, just look at what's been going on in the world of finance lately. Things are all changing, right? We're really seeing this huge change from all those old paper-based systems to these new digital ones that are far faster and better at getting things done. But here's the thing. When you truly go into the technology that makes all of this possible, Swift just doesn't have it. They are still doing things the old way. But then there are players like Ripple who are doing really well in this new tech arena, along with XRP and the XRPL, which are doing some really amazing things. In this video, I want to explain in detail how I think Ripple will take the place of Swift. But this is where things become interesting. I don't think it's going to happen the way most people think it will, and I'll tell you why. Let's talk about why Swift is the target of our attention. This gadget has been around since 1973. We're talking about a system that is 50 years old. And yes, it's huge. More than 11,500 banks and other financial institutions in 200 countries are connected to it. Pretty good reach. But this is where things start to get messy. This is a big challenge for Swift. The US basically controls it, and we've turned it into a financial weapon. We've really utilized it to punish governments all over the place. We have turned a network that connects more than 11,000 banks around the world into a weapon. And you know what? Many countries are sick of this. They're tired of having to follow US restrictions just to send money around the world. For example, look at Russia. Remember when we put those sanctions on them in March 2022? We literally threw them off Swift and turned the dollar become a weapon at the same time. That's why so many countries are rushing to find other options to the dollar and Swift. And to be honest, a lot of them are really getting better, which is clearly hurting Swift's dominance. So, does this imply Swift is going to fall apart tomorrow? No, we're not there yet. But I think these new technologies are going to completely change the game for Swift's dominance. What if there is a completely different plan going on behind the scenes that most people don't know about yet? You really need to pay attention to what I'm about to show you if you think Ripple will just take the place of Swift and XRP will become a huge worldwide bridge currency. Let's look at some of Ripple's recent actions. Do you remember Hidden Road? That purchase was huge. We spoke about it a lot since the consequences are crazy. They plan to push $3 trillion over the XRP ledger per year, and more than 300 big banks are already connected. That's not a little amount of money. It's not only Hidden Road, though. They also just got Rail. And here's the deal. These two purchases go together perfectly. What we're really seeing is Ripple construct this huge institutional infrastructure stack, but it's all about blockchain and tokenized assets. They don't only want to beat Swift. They're making something that isn't like anything else, and this is just the start. From here on out, it's only going to get bigger. Give it some thought. Swift had a 50-year head start, didn't they? People have thought of them as the best way to move money throughout the world since 1973. They have full control over that space. But things are different now. When you look at everything Ripple has done over the last 13 years, not just recently, it's evident that they've been working toward this moment. Ripple isn't merely a player in the crypto market anymore because of all the moves and groundwork that have led us here. They are becoming a major player in the whole financial system. And this is why the Rail purchase is so important. It all comes down to one ridiculous number. They are responsible for more than 10% of all stablecoin volume between businesses. Take a moment to think about that. We're talking about 10% of all B2B stablecoin transactions going via their system. Stablecoins are actually taking over the world of crypto when you think about it. We've already reached more than 1% of the world's M2 money supply. That's a lot. And I just looked into how far this could go by 2030, and the figures are unbelievable. This is an example of exponential expansion. I really believe that stablecoins will eventually take over the whole global M2 supply. In the not-too-distant future, we should see at least 10%, and who knows, maybe even 100% later on. Everything is moving on the chain. Everything is becoming a token. This tendency isn't just going on, it's actually accelerating up like crazy. When you see that Rail controls 10% of the B2B stablecoin market, and then look at where stablecoins are going in terms of the global money supply, the picture becomes very apparent. And this is what's interesting. Many individuals think that Ripple's purchase of Rail represents a significant warning to Swift. They're basically saying, "Hey, Swift, we're coming for you." A perfect illustration. Paul Barron hit the nail on the head when he said this was Swift's wake-up call. He explained in detail why this $200 million Rail acquisition will transform the game. And it's not only because Ripple is spending a lot of money. Take a look at what Rail really has to offer. They handle 10% of the huge $36 billion worldwide B2B stablecoin industry. That is a lot. But this is when things become really fascinating. They're changing those excruciating days, long wire transfers into settlements that happen in just a few hours. Paul also termed this stablecoin sandwich tech. This is basically a smooth connection between old-school cash and digital money, together with all the virtual accounts and automated back-office tasks that businesses really require. But what this means for businesses on a daily basis is the true kicker. Payments across countries that settle in minutes instead of days are what we're talking about. Costs are 80% lower than with regular banking. That's a big step forward. That's a big deal. You also get 24/7 settlement, so you don't have to wait for banks to open on Monday anymore. And they're doing all of this while following all the rules, which is exactly what big businesses need to hear. Ripple now has the tools it needs to compete with SWIFT in the huge $3 trillion market for cross-border payments. And here's the crazy part. Ripple's every move is part of this wider plan. It's all about making this internet of value that they keep talking about. But here's the big question. Will SWIFT be a part of this new world, or will they be left behind? A lot of people are arguing that Ripple is just attempting to kill SWIFT with these acquisitions, but there is something very interesting going on here. Take a look at this. FXRO made an important remark concerning the Rail acquisition. This gadget really does work with SEPA, Fedwire, ACH, and SWIFT payment rails, as well as a lot of others. So they're not fully shutting SWIFT out. In fact, they're connecting to more than one network. And this is where folks need to remember what I've been saying about SWIFT for a long time. They don't really process and settle payments. In short, SWIFT is essentially a way to send messages. The people who actually undertake the hard work of clearing and settling are all the other players that are connected to SWIFT. That's why everything takes so long. So maybe this isn't about getting rid of SWIFT completely. It could be about something else entirely. I think folks who say Ripple will take the place of SWIFT are not seeing the whole picture. We're already doing everything that SWIFT doesn't do. So here's a crazy idea. What if SWIFT really wants to stay and be important? They should probably get on board with what Ripple is making. What I'm saying is that SWIFT should really use digital assets and distributed ledger technology in their infrastructure, especially for settling transactions. Whatever, they can keep handling the communication side if they want. But what about settlement? That's where they really need to catch up with the times. And here's the best part. A number of those old communications problems are being fixed anyway with the release of ISO 20022. This standard makes it much easier for DLT, blockchain, and digital assets to connect. So you could really have SWIFT handle messages while the XRP ledger handles payments. They might work as a team. Casey Craddock from Ripple really hit the nail on the head with this. Someone asked Ripple if he was ready to compete with SWIFT, and his answer was great. He remarked that both companies may live in the same world. He was trying to say that people merely want to be able to transmit money around the world quickly and cheaply. They just want a better experience. Listen closely to what he's saying here. Let's have a look at Ripple now. Where does it stand now when it comes to things like cross-border transactions? Is it ready to go up against SWIFT, for example, as you